All right, guys, happy Sunday night. We are just about ready to get rolling here on our live stream show. This is Captain Dylan Hubbard coming to you from Hubbard's Marina Studios right here in sunny, beautiful, well, most of the time sunny, Johns Pass, fish famous Johns Pass at Hubbard's Marina. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. We are going to be talking all about nearshore and offshore fishing tips, tricks, and more. And we are going to be answering your questions and showing you some photos of what we've been catching, talk about what's coming up, what's going on, and we can even talk a little bit about our National Marine Fisheries meeting that just occurred this past week. Get a little bit of that out there as well. Thank you, David Pruitt. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much for those stars, getting us started off right. We are live here on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram, guys, don't forget, it looks funky on Instagram because it makes you kind of do that kind of weird display on Instagram. It looks right on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching on Instagram, you can go to Instagram.com, log in through your browser, and once you're on your phone's browser, you can turn it sideways and it will appear to display properly. Or you could pop over to YouTube or Facebook and watch there, and then you'll be able to see it in the right orientation. Barry Long, Jim Evans, appreciate those stars, guys. If you're watching on Instagram or YouTube, the stars are just a way for those watching on Facebook to show some support and help us kind of fund these cool things that we do, getting these live shows set up and new streaming software. Michelle Lorenzo, Richard Blazak, David Grantham, appreciate you guys for sending those stars. And also, guys, we want you to make sure you want to comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. So you got to go to facebook.com, cruise over to the Hubbard's Marina page, and comment at least one time in order to be eligible to win the free trips tonight. We're going to be giving away over $700 in free fishing trips. So make sure you take advantage of that. Nick Nieves, appreciate those 1,000 stars, man. Terry Feather, Nick McLean, Karina Abdallah, appreciate you guys as well for sending those stars. And don't forget to comment where you're watching from. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. If you're watching on Instagram, give us that double tap or react to that live story for us. If you're watching on Facebook, don't forget to like the video, share it to your favorite Facebook group. I'd appreciate it, guys. Rondalee Braley, thank you for those 1,000 stars. That's awesome. Really appreciate it. Happy Sunday night, and welcome to the live stream studio here. We are going to get rolling on our live show you guys what we've been catching, and roll into some announcements. And then after that, we are going to start answering your questions live. Remember, if you have a question, you've got to text it to that phone number in the bottom right-hand corner, 727-393-1947. Don't forget to text into that phone number if you'd like your question answered live during the show. You're welcome to obviously comment, but if you comment, a lot of times your comments will get lost in translation because we are blessed to have a lot of you guys and gals watching, and comments kind of disappear quickly on us. Larry White, appreciate those stars, buddy. All right, with that, let's get into these photos and show you guys what we've been catching. The redfish bite's been going good this past week. We've had some clearer water around, and that's really inspired those redfish to keep going well for us around those docks. The docks around Hubbard's Marina, around Johns Pass, even around the bridge at night. We've been seeing a lot of those redfish hanging out along the bottom. Cut bait working really well, live shrimp on the bottom, all good options. But it is that time of year where we get into the small, hard to get shrimp. So over the course of the last couple years, I've become somewhat of a shrimping expert because we have huge orders of shrimp every day, and this time of year we run into what we call the July 4th kind of lull with the shrimp. And what happens is every year around July 4th those shrimp get on the move, and they actually will move offshore, and it makes it really difficult for those shrimpers to target them and catch a bunch of volume for us. The smaller shrimp hang out closer to shore, and we can still get those shrimp, but it just much fewer and further between, and much less populated. So every year, right around July 4th, those shrimp get really hard to get in quantities. So normally we order anywhere between 5 to 10,000 shrimp a day. And around July 4th every year, it starts to be real tough to get a full order. Plus, we just had a full moon and a lot of rain. That rain accelerates those shrimp moving. What happens is the water warms up inshore in the shallow water, and those shrimp move offshore to stay in more moderate, cooler temperatures. And the rain will sometimes slow them down a little bit, but that full moon brings stronger currents, which again make them tough to hunt down. So today, John's Pass was devoid of shrimp by about 10 a.m. Don's dock was sold out. We were sold out. No shrimp around because all the shrimpers' deliveries were short due to those phenomenon that we're talking about now. Christine, appreciate you. Thank you very much. And Josh, let's get back to those inshore photos and finish it up. We got some cool other fish to talk about besides the redfish and our shrimp issues. Let's go back inshore, Josh. Yeah, we didn't finish them up. We only got through redfish. Yeah. So with inshore, we've been seeing also, besides the redfish, we've been seeing a lot of those snook still out on the beach. The water cleared up this past week, like I mentioned, and the snook bite really picked up around John's Pass. Smokey caught quite a few of them this week, early morning. The 10-hour trip the other day, a young gentleman was fishing from the back deck of the boat. We loaded the boat, and a young guy all pumped up. I think it was his birthday. Smokey set him up with a rod, free line, and a pinfish. And as the boat was pulling out of the slip, this guy caught a snook. It was pretty cool. So definitely a great way to pregame your near-shore, offshore fishing trip, catching some snook off the dock. And we have plenty of shrimp. I saw someone talk about that. We have plenty of shrimp, and we're still getting plenty of shrimp for our trips. It's just if you're coming down to fish the docks, a lot of times we're selling out of shrimp by like 10, 11 a.m. in the morning. But if they get us enough shrimp, obviously we don't run out. But from day to day, it gets tricky this time of year. 90% of the year, we order 10,000 shrimp, we get 10,000 shrimp. But from July 4th till around mid-August, it gets a little bit tougher to get what you order shrimp-wise. Now, let's also show what other snook we got. The guys in John's Pass, John Sasser, our buddy here, has been catching a lot of these snook on the flare hawk jigs around the pass. The nighttime snook bite and into the early morning snook bite's been picking up. And there's Smokey with his snook he caught the other day before that 10-hour trip. Now, this one is extra special here. This guy is a snook fishing legend. If you think beach snook fishing, Scott Sadorf's name is synonymous with beach snook fishing. I was really good friends with his son Nolan growing up in high school and such, and I remember going beach snook fishing with Scott. We'd leave 4 or 5 a.m., go and get the bait, go and get our rods rigged up, and we'd be out there an hour and a half before sunrise, and we would be snook fishing until 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then as we got older, Nolan and I got more into spearfishing, so we would be spearfishing around bridges while he was beach snook fishing, and we'd come back and he'd caught 60 some odd snook from the beach. It's crazy. But he's been hunting this fish for a really, really long time. This fish right here was 45 inches. That is a behemoth snook, 45-inch snook from the beach. Get this, on 10-pound test. 10-pound braided line, 20-pound fluorocarbon leader with a 2/0 hook using a live pigfish. Sight fished this bad boy. It took him 45 minutes, and it dragged him a 1/4 mile down the beach. So a 1/4 mile running down the beach after this fish, and 45 minutes later finally got it close enough to grab its tail and land that fish. I mean, just what an incredible catch. That is a snook of a lifetime for our area, for sure. I mean, everybody talks about a 40-inch club. That's a 45-inch snook he caught. Crazy. Dave Decatur, appreciate those stars, and anybody else I missed in the interim, appreciate you guys as well. Here is our good friend Luke Simons from Salt Strong showing off one of those big old triple tail. The triple tail are back in the area around Tampa Bay, around those markers, buoys, crab traps, around the bridges, and even some select dock lights at night. You can find some of these bad boys hanging out. And here is Luke's brother Joe, also from Salt Strong, showing off a nice trout. The trout bite's still going pretty well. They're moving into the deeper flats. Kind of got to look for them around those potholes, cuts, edges. They're moving deeper as that water warms up. That's what's going on with them trout as they transition to more of that summertime trout pattern. With that, let's make our way near shore and offshore and see what we've been catching a little bit deeper. We don't have quite as many photos as I would like for the near shore and offshore stuff, but we still got some good ones to show you guys. Here is Damian Simmons' better half, drove down to join him for a 39-hour trip, caught some nice triggerfish, some nice big old mangroves, and outfished her husband through the night. And look at this bad boy, nice 70-pound wahoo from this 44-hour full moon trip that got back in this morning. Craig Hammett caught that bad boy on that pink and white Nomad DTX minnow with that dark purple back. Beautiful lit up wahoo. Now look at the color change from the time we gaff it, bring it on the boat, to the time it flops around on deck and gets picked up. The color change is fanatical. It's crazy. Mahi do the same thing. So you've got fresh out of the water, a little bit more fresh, and then it's been out of the water for a minute, and we've taken a couple photos with it. It's absolutely incredible how much the color change occurs on these wahoo, mahi. Almost all species of fish that we catch have the ability to kind of alter their colors to a point, but most of them can't do it as quickly, and most of them don't lose it as quickly. Pelagic species especially can change colors a lot more quickly, and not necessarily change colors, but change shading and patterns more quickly to match their surroundings. Gag grouper do the same thing. You get those gags with a real white belly. They've been traveling over the sand. Then you get those gags that are real dark colored because they've been hanging out underneath a rock. Red grouper do the same thing. Mangrove snapper do the same thing. They can change their color pattern to match their surroundings. Like you can see here, that's a more lighter colored gag. He's been traveling. He's been on the move. She has been on the move, excuse me. Nice mangrove snapper bite. We've been catching a lot of big gag grouper. We've been seeing a good grade of red grouper, some monster scamp mixed in. The scamp have been mostly small pinfish, with the occasional scamp caught on threadfin. The big gags have been on butterfly dead baits or big live baits while we're out there. Red grouper are loving the strips of bonita, the squid strips, or the whole squid. And a lot of our biggest gags and red grouper have been on the whole octopus. Michael Jimmy, thanks for watching. Thanks for those 1,000 stars. I will see you guys soon for our 39-hour trip. Looking forward to it. Nice gag grouper here and some more. Look at that rusty belly gag. Now that is a male gag, and that's the rusty belly that I'm talking about. The male gags get that dark colored belly to them. Really cool fish. That is a trophy gag grouper right there. Fat red snapper. We've been seeing some good red snapper. The best red snapper bait as of late has been that bonita definitely doing really well on those red snapper with those bonita strips. And the live pinfish works too, but most of the time the dead bait has been the best lately. And also slow pitch jigs also work. Did Will catch his big gag on slow pitch? That makes sense. So thanks for the input, Joe. Nice gag, scamps, red groupers. And that's pretty much the theme. A lot of big gag grouper right now, a steady red grouper bite, some good scamp mixed in with the occasional big old red snapper. Now, this past trip, we actually had more problem this past trip with current affecting our ability to go deep and catch some big red snapper. This past 44-hour didn't do as well on the red snapper as we would have liked because we had to stay a little bit shallower because of our current issues and because of the fact that we had some issues with people working together. You got to work together when you're out there in deep water. I've been saying this more and more during our 39-hour pre-boarding seminars, and we should talk about it during the live show too. On a party boat trip or any multi-passenger offshore fishing trip, you really got to work together, and the experience is only as good as our weakest link, and that is not to single anybody out. That's more to say you have to work together. You have to have teamwork. Everybody's got to be using the same size main line, similar size main line, I should say, and a similar sized weight. If you got one guy who's using 60 pound with a 10 ounce and you got another guy who's using 80 pound and a 6 ounce, you're going to have a lot of problems, a lot of tangles, and a lot of issues. Whereas if everybody's using 60-pound main line and an 8-ounce lead, you can fish really deep and really not have any issues not tangling up or hardly any issues not getting tangled up. What happens is when you get one person or two people on the side of the boat that's not using the right size weights, that's what causes issues out there in that deeper water. And spinning reels, for the love of God, spinning reels are not preferred. Do not use spinning reels for bottom fishing offshore. We had that video a couple weeks ago during the show where the one guy catches an 80-pound amberjack, back when amberjack were open at the end of May there, 80-pound amberjack. He lands with ease on his conventional rod, and he had one guy had his hook on his line, not even a tangle, just a hook on his line. The other person next to him is using a big fancy $1,200 Van Stahl with crazy drag. Probably had 3 times as much drag as the guy using the conventional. But what happened to the guy using the spinning reel? He had no control, no power over the fish. That fish did big circles. He tangled the whole front of the boat, ended up losing the fish, and 20 people were tangled up. And everybody lost fishing time, and that person looks like the bad guy because he caused or she caused all the problems by using the improper tool for the job. When you're out there fishing in deep water, I'm not talking about a 5-hour or a 10-hour, even a 12-hour night snapper. I would still bring a spinning reel, and I'd still use those occasionally when the bite's a little slower to drop down lighter tackle for snapper fishing. But when you go on a 12-hour extreme trip, 39-hour trip, 44-hour trip, just know if you bring a spinning reel over 4,000, 5,000 size, I will judge you. Because you don't need one any bigger than like a 4,000. And the only reason, 4 or 5,000, the only reason you'd have one like that is for a pitch rod or for flatlining. And during red snapper season, you don't need a pitch rod or a flatline rod because trips are sold out. I've been saying it for weeks now that red snapper season is not my favorite time of year. Red snapper overrated because these trips have been sold out for months, and every day someone's like, "Oh, so how many people are on the trip?" It's red snapper season, man. It's sold out. So in January, February, March, April, we were running 39-hour trips with 25, 20, even 30 people on them, whereas now we're running sold out 50-person 39-hour trips. Granted, the boat's licensed for 120, there's 78 rod holders. Even with 50, it's not too crowded, but it's too crowded to flatline or pitch bait fish. It's a lot more difficult to bring a bunch of rods and kind of have a bunch of choices. So definitely avoid the spinning reels, especially this time of year. You don't need a spinning reel, and you never want to drop down a spinning reel when you're out there in deep water. Basic good rule of thumb is if you're fishing beyond about 80, 90 foot of water, you don't want to drop a spinning reel to bottom unless you're vertical jigging, and even then, you wouldn't do that on a full trip during red snapper season, and you wouldn't do that on a party boat with 30, 40 other people dropping lines. Now, in January, February, in October, early November, when trips are lighter, yeah, you can go ahead and do that, but don't do that on a busy trip. Now, for example, the 39-hour trip I have coming up with the Jimmy family, there's going to be 12, 15, maybe 17 people fishing on that a 39-hour private charter, and you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to bring a spinning reel and have some fun with a big red snapper up in the bow of the boat. But I'm going to be 25, 30 feet away from the closest person, and that's different. So you really got to pay attention to your surroundings and evaluate the situation before you start dropping down that kind of tackle, because you cause problems and it ruins the trip for people around you. And I had a guy this morning, I won't name names, but I've seen him comment in the comments tonight, literally go on a diatribe about how spinning reels ruined his 39-hour trip because he kept getting tangled. And I get it. I agree. It's tough and it's frustrating. And again, the trip is only as good as our weakest link. And one guy or gal using improper tackle, fishing too light, or don't have their drag set right, it gets really, really negative quickly. So you got to work together, got to listen to the crew. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Those are really three main kind of words of advice, no matter what boat, where you fish. Talk to those around you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Listen to the captain, listen to the crew, because no one wants you to catch more fish than we do. Everybody at Hubbard's Marina is there to make sure you have a good experience, a great time, and catch a bunch of fish. So this is not me bashing spinning reels. I love to fish with spinning reels in appropriate atmospheres and times, which is 5-hour half day, 10-hour all day. Yeah, bring your spinning reel. Use it a lot. It's a great option. If you start going on a 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, you're fishing 120-foot plus water, don't bring a spinning reel. That's enough about that. Let's move on, Josh. Someone got me worked up. Josh has a microphone now. It's scary. So
yes, I do.
now he can talk back. You guys can hear his soothing voice. What's up, Josh?
What's up? How's it going, everybody?
Oh,
Or do you want me to go ahead and do the radio voice, of course?
And his microphone's gone. All right, so I wanted to get into a quick announcement or two here before we get into your questions. One thing that I want to remind you as we get into the show, guys, if you have a question, you got to text it to that phone number there, 727-393-1947. If you just comment, a lot of times we will not see your comment during the show, so make sure to actually text your question into that phone number. Now, we have our Real Animals radio show. We are hooked up with Captain Mike Anderson and his Real Animals radio show every Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on 970 WFLA. If you haven't heard the Real Animals radio show before, it's a good excuse to start trying it, because yours truly is now a full-time co-host with Captain Mike. He's showing me the ropes of radio. I've been told I have a face for radio, so so we've got our Friday morning Fox 13 segments live, 8:15 a.m. We've got our Saturday morning live radio show from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on 970 WFL News Radio 970. It's WFLA, right? Now I'm questioning myself. Yeah, WFLA. I was right. And then I'll get it down eventually before the next radio show. And then also our Sunday night live shows that obviously you know about now. Don't forget to pop over to the Real Animals Fishing Show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube after the show. Not right now. After the show, pop over to Real Animals Fishing Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Show them some love. Give them a subscribe on YouTube, like their page, and thank them for joining forces with us here at Hubbard's Marina. And we're going to be bringing our live show mobile. We're going on the road, so that way in the studio Saturday mornings, you'll be able to watch the behind-the-scenes action. And then also I wanted to make sure you guys knew the live show here is now on your favorite podcast channel. You can, me personally, I like Spotify. That's what I use when I'm cruising in my truck, listening to some country music or rap music. I do like rap music, believe it or not. Most of you have heard that in the morning. But I definitely love my Spotify, and we are on Spotify app. You can look up Hubbard's Marina and follow our channel. And these live shows are turned into podcasts, and they're uploaded to a variety of podcast channels. So wherever you find your podcasts, you can now find these live shows. We upload them around midday Monday. So if you ever miss a show, you can catch up during the week while you're driving around to listen to the podcast. So pretty cool.
We're on
what?
We're on Apple. We're on Alexa Music, Google Play. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, and of course more others coming once we figure out the popularity of them.
Look at that. That's pretty cool. No idea how many places Josh has put us. One thing I want to do also give a shout out for Sean Porchke and Craig Hammock for fueling our live show with our beverages. Thank you, Sean Porchke and Craig Hammock. And special shout out to David Pruitt for bringing us the bacon. He brought us some specialty bacon from this local butcher shop on his way down from Georgia, and it was incredible. We had it cooked up on the boat before the boat left. Whew! Thick cut, incredible bacon. And also, Michael, Jimmy, and your family, I haven't forgot about the bacon steaks that you brought me. That was epic, life-changing, if you will. And, of course, the baby clothes as well. Thank you, David Pruitt. Now, with that, let's get into some of your questions. And don't forget, as Josh pulls up those questions, if you're a Hubbard's Marina supporter, you can pop over after the show. We do our live supporters show. So if you're a supporter, you have that after show, too. First question, I booked my trip on the Flying Hub 2 Extreme for last week of August. What can I expect to catch, and what type of bait rig should I have? In August, we are going to be hunting after those red grouper, scamp grouper, gag grouper. Virtually, we can catch anything and everything in August except for triggerfish. Triggerfish open March 1st, and they end when the quota is projected to be met. And they never ended, so I kind of thought they would reopen August, but we just heard at the recent National Marine Fisheries meeting that we actually met and even exceeded the quota a little bit. So we will not see triggerfish reopen after their June and July spawning closure. So triggerfish was open March 1st, as always, and they went till end of May. They will not reopen. Now, amberjack will... supposed to be reopened in August, but amberjack's kind of up in the air because they're considered overfished and undergoing overfishing. The recent stock assessment for amberjack in the Gulf was not good. So I don't know what they're going to do with amberjack. There was talks of perhaps putting out an emergency rule to make sure that amberjack do not reopen August, but we will see. So I would focus on using the dead bait there for the red grouper, mangrove snapper, scamp, and I would bring some pinfish for the bigger gags and perhaps some of those scamp grouper too. And for those 12-hour extremes, typically 80-pound leader, about 7 to 10-aught hook, depending on the size of bait you're using, and 6 and 8, and maybe even some 10-ounce leads, depending on if you're around that new moon or full moon. But that's a great start to your tackle setup. Remember, on the 12-hour extreme trip, you're on that smaller, faster boat. So the 12-hour extreme is extremely weather dependent. Anything much over about 3 foot, it makes it really tricky to get out there on that 12-hour extreme trip. Whereas the 39-hour trip, for example, is almost impervious to weather, because on that bigger Florida fisherman, that boat can pretty much handle just about anything thrown at it weather-wise. So a little bit easier if you're traveling from far away to do those 39-hour trips, because you can kind of count on them a little better. I saw someone asked about tuna. We did catch a tuna on the 44-hour full moon trip, and that was just happenstance. It actually ate a threadfin on the way down, or perhaps when it got tangled. We went out there a little deeper, and we were fishing deeper, and like I mentioned, we had a lot of problems with current, and we had some people using lighter tackle they shouldn't have been. It caused some tangles, so big tangle happened underneath the boat. Captain Joe was clearing that tangle, and as he's clearing the tangle, he felt pressure on one of the lines and ended up having to cut it to get it out, and then hand lined in. One of the anglers had caught a blackfin tuna on his threadfin. He was dropping to bottom before it got tangled in that little bit of a mess caused by a spinning reel. Sorry, had a little cough there for a second. I'm all right. We'll clear my throat real fast. Is 40-pound braided line with a top shot of 30-pound mono good for a 5-hour half day? Yes, that is a great start for a 5-hour half day. 40-40 works, but as light as 30-pound is fine for a 5-hour half day. Even a 10-hour all day, probably I would do 40-40 for a 10-hour all day though. I booked a trip for July 25th on the 39-hour trip for my honeymoon for me and my wife. Either you're very brave or you have a very unique relationship with your wife. Either way, I'm happy for you. Our trip is the day after the full moon. Could you please tell me how heavy of weights to bring and what size hooks? Your hooks definitely are more dependent on your size bait. For example, if you're using a whole octopus, you want to maybe use a 10, 12-aught hook. If you're using a big strip of bonita, that's 1.5 feet long and super thick, again, probably a 12-aught hook, maybe even a 14-aught hook. Whereas if you're using a normal average size live pinfish, a 7-aught hook. So your hook size kind of is dependent on the bait you intend to fish with. Now, overall, generally on a 39-hour trip, around 6 to 7-aught hooks is good this time of year. 6 if you're targeting the mangroves and red snappers. 7 as a good all-around. Still will catch you the mangroves and red snapper. Better chance for those grouper. And then kind of a good all-around size. So I would bring some 6s, some 7s, some 8s, maybe some 9, 10, 12s, depending on if you're going to be using really large baits. As far as leader size, I would go 50, 60 pound at the minimum, and I would go as hard and as heavy as about 125 pound if you had the tackle to handle it. If you've got a reel with 30 pounds of drag and your main line's 60 pounds, there's no reason to bring a 125 pound leader. But if you've got a big old heavy duty reel with 50, 60 pounds of drag and you've got 80, 100 pound main line, then you might want to bring some 125-pound leader. So it kind of depends on your situation and what you plan to tackle up with. But again, shout out to you for doing a 39-hour trip for your honeymoon. That's awesome. I was talking to a husband and wife recently who did a 39-hour trip on their anniversary. Wife didn't look so pumped, but she was a trooper. She hung in there, and they ended up having a good time. So my wife likes fishing, but she doesn't love fishing like that, let me tell you. I don't know if I could trick her into a 39-hour trip. Plus, she's 8 months pregnant, so it might not be a good idea. But my mom went fishing when I was cooking up, when she was she claimed she was 8 months pregnant. I've heard others say it was around 7 months pregnant. But she was on a 39-hour trip with me, obviously inside the womb still, when she was very late term. So who knows? Maybe that's where my love of fishing came from. If you win a 5-hour trip for 2 or a 10-hour trip for 2, do you have to use them the same time, or can you use them on 2 separate trips? Yes, the free trip giveaways are non-transferable. They're not good during March, April, June, or July, and our 4 busiest months of the year. They're good 75% of the time, and we don't have blackout dates outside of those, but we do not really kind of break them up and allow you to use them multiple times through the year. The idea is, hey, you can go fishing with a friend, or you can come by yourself and go fishing for free, whatever you want to do. And it's a kind of a great way for us to spread the word of Hubbard's Marina and help kind of spread the word of the show. And it is a thank you to you guys for watching, sending stars, supporting the studio, and all the cool stuff we do here in Hubbard's Marina Media Empire. With that, let's go ahead and give away our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away a 5-hour half day for 2 guests, or 1 guest, however you want to do it. But remember, if you're picked as that lucky winner, you do have to text that phone number over there in the corner, 727-393-1947, within about 5 minutes to claim the free trip by sending your home address to that phone number if you're picked as that lucky winner. And you do have to be watching live. That's why you got to claim it quickly in about 5 minutes to prove you are watching live. And remember, we still got a 10-hour all day for 2 and a 39-hour trip for 1 to give away after this 5-hour half day. Josh, roll that beautiful bean footage. Let's see who won a free 5-hour half day for 2 guests. John Cassidy from Powder Springs, Georgia. Thanks for tuning in, John Cassidy, and congratulations on your 5-hour half day trip for 2 guests. Remember to claim your free trip by texting that phone number in the bottom, whatever corner that is. The screens flip around here all the time, so it's hard to keep track. Shout out to Yamaha. Just saw their logo pop up. Yamaha sending us, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 8 motors on order right now with Yamaha. 8 outboard engines on order. Absolutely mind-blowing. But we are bringing our entire fleet back to Yamaha because Honda sucks. Do not buy a Honda outboard unless you want to become a part-time mechanic. They've got this great feature where their exhaust hose for raw water will just come apart and fill the cowling full of salt water without setting an alarm off. So you don't know about it until your Honda engine shuts down because the glow plugs in all the coils are now covered in salt water. It's a beautiful feature, and you can get it today with your Honda outboard engine. And good luck finding service, because the only place in the area that really services Honda outboards, you have to bring your boat to them. They do not travel. And getting an 85-foot, 14-foot beam pontoon boat over to the gentleman over there is a little bit tricky. So Honda outboards, not a great choice. Mercury, they're doing all right. Pro Marine is a great place for your Yamahas and your Mercuries. They do Suzuki now too. Central Marine is who we use for our Yamaha engines, and great guys over there at Central Marine, and Pro Marine is a close second for sure. We've also got Mastery Marine we've worked with for our Suzukis. Suzuki's would be a close second, in my opinion. Mercury's right up there with Suzuki, but no one beats Yamaha. Yamaha's service, Yamaha's dedication, and their activity in the fishery. Cannot say enough good things about Yamaha. And definitely check them out. I mean, they support your fishery. They support fisheries science and recreational fishing access heavily, financially. They do more than any other motor business in the game, in my opinion. I mean, the vice president of government relations will call me when I go to council meetings to talk about what's going on, the issues, and to try to sway me sometimes, or we meet in the middle and work together. So it's really cool, all the cool stuff Yamaha does for your fishery that you might not even know about. What's our next question, Josh, before we get too far off track? While Josh is pulling up the next question, we mentioned it earlier very quickly. Don't forget about our supporters after show. If you go to the top of our Facebook page, if you go to Hubbard's Marina, or if you go to facebook.com, go to Hubbard's Marina on Facebook, you can find the supporters page and you can become a supporter today. It's only $4.99 a month. That gives you private access to the private supporters group, which is a really cool kind of community because the $4.99 a month kind of keeps the riffraff out. And it's a really, really cool group of individuals who are very hooked on fishing and very helpful and share a lot of tips and tricks. Eric Deskins and David Pruitt are talking about how to make custom rod holders for the Florida fishermen for your 39-hour trips. We've had some guys share some very helpful information in there. And gals, too. We've got some great lady angler supporters as well. Plus, we've got our free supporter T-shirts coming soon. We're going to have supporter stickers right behind those T-shirts as well. So we're excited about all that. And if you join the supporters group, you get the private after show where it's another 30 minutes of just you guys, less people in the queue, so your questions are all answered a lot better. All right, let's see what our next question is. My question is cigar minnows. Are they good for red snapper and gag grouper bait? Also, can you prepare them like thread fins with salt brines the night before fishing? Yeah, cigar minnows are an awesome bait. A lot of times what we notice is the bait that's a little bit different from everybody else. Mike Dixon, I see you in the comments. We'll get to Mike Dixon after I finish this diatribe about cigar minnows. But as I was saying, something a little different is all you need sometimes to make things kind of pop. So, for example, if you've got 20, 30 guys on a boat dropping thread fins down and one guy drops a cigar minnow down, that cigar minnow is a little different from everything else around it. And sometimes that's all it takes, is to be the one that stands out in the crowd to entice that big gag grouper or mangrove snapper that was kind of hanging back and being leader shy to chew. So it does sometimes help to be a little different. Now, would cigar minnows be my go-to? No. Primarily, me personally, I just stick to the thread fins on the boat. But if you're not blessed to be able to go fishing all the time and you're going out on a 39-hour trip and you're so excited and pumped up about it, which I understand, in my opinion, it's always better to be prepared. It's better to have it and not need it than want it and not have it when it comes to bait. You don't want to bring a trailer and bring everything in your garage on the boat. What I'm referring to is bait. If you want to bring a little bait cooler and bring not chicken feet. Let's not get crazy here, Dave. But having some cigar minnows, some octopus, maybe some whole squid, some thread fins, some squid wings, which the thread fins and squid wings we provide on the boat, the pinfish we sell at the dock. All great options. Now, a lot of people ask us about our live shrimp because we have it available at the dock and we use it a lot on our 5 and 10 hour trips. But You definitely don't need live shrimp on 99% of 39-hour trips. Most of the time, the only time you're going to use the live shrimp is if the bite is slow. If it slows down and there's not a lot of action going on, dropping down to some lighter tackle and dropping a shrimp will sometimes be that bait that stands out a little different from everybody else and entice that bite. But also this time of year when gags are biting and you drop down a little lighter tackle with that unique bait, you get hit by a gag, you break off, you shut down the bite. So not the best option right now. I would veer away from the shrimp a little bit. I've never been on a 39-hour trip. Do you catch a lot? Yeah, man, that's what we're here to do. We catch a lot on all of our trips. It's just the 39-hour trip goes a lot further. You have a lot more fishing time. Basically, someone was asking me today about the different trips, and the best way to describe it is a 5-hour trip is great for beginners, tourists. It's fun for the whole family, and it's fun for even experienced anglers who don't have a lot of time and they just want to get out there on the water and catch some fish for dinner or lunch and take some fresh fish home. It's a fun way to get out there, have a few cocktails or have a few beers, and come back and enjoy your fresh caught fish for lunch while you enjoy a cocktail on the waterfront deck at the Friendly Fisherman, or enjoy them for dinner with an afternoon half day. You can bring your friends. You can get people hooked on fishing doing that 5-hour half day. Basically, our shortest trip closest to shore. You don't go very deep. You don't get anything real big, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to get your feet wet near shore and offshore fishing. Our 10-hour trip is basically the next step up. You're going twice as far for twice as long, and you get the opportunity to catch keeper red grouper. That's our first trip that goes far enough for the opportunity to catch a keeper red grouper. This time of year, it's just primarily red grouper because of how hot the water is. Those gags are out deep. Now, outside of the outside of the 10-hour trip, the next step up would be the 12-hour night snapper. The 12-hour night snapper trip is a great option to hunt some of those mangrove snapper, lane snapper, vermilions, and it's kind of a good option for you more experienced anglers that might not have time to get out there all the way into deep water for our 39-hour fishing trip. And then a 12-hour extreme trip, which is for you professionals who have too much going on in life to get out there for 3 days on a 39-hour trip. The 12-hour extreme trip offers you to reach those 39-hour quality fish with a very narrow window of fishing time that's very weather dependent. But you leave early in the morning and you're home in time for dinner and sleeping in your own bed. So the 12-hour extreme is a great opportunity for that. And then the 39 hours, the 44 hours, those are the ones that you go really far for really long. You get a 2-day bag limit, and it's really hard to kind of go wrong on those longer range trips. And that's kind of the difference between all of them. Start with a 5-hour, do 1 or 2 5 hours, then maybe try 1 or 2 10 hours. And then if you're still liking it, maybe try a 12-hour night snapper. Then maybe try a 12-hour extreme trip or 2. Then you're ready for a 39-hour trip. If you do it that way, you're going to have a much better experience when you go to that 39-hour. If you jump right from a half-day trip or a 10-hour to a 39-hour trip, you're not going to have as great of experience. The first trip has the steepest learning curve, and it's very tricky. You bring a bunch of stuff you think you need, you don't need, or you don't bring something that you do need. The way you lower that learning curve and flatten that learning curve is by watching the videos, asking questions via the live show, tuning into our live show, use the frequently asked questions page on the website. Hey, maybe look at the website, maybe read it, maybe check your confirmation email. Today was hilarious. Not going to go into too many specifics, but the long or the short of it was from the time this person showed up until the time the boat left the dock was a complete nightmare for him, for staff, for the parking garage, everybody, because he did not read his confirmation emails. He didn't look at the website. Someone booked the trip from him and said, hey, show up here at this time. That was it. He had no information, didn't call, didn't go to the website, Didn't look at the confirmation email. Literally just showed up where he was told to, at what time he was told to. Ended up showing up late. Didn't know where he was going. Didn't know what boat he was on. Didn't know what trip he was on. Didn't know where to park. It was a nightmare. And it was all related to not using the resources at your disposal. Use the videos. Use the frequently asked questions page. Read the website for the trip you're going out on. Check your confirmation email. Hey, we send you a reminder email too. And we have the Catch More Fish page. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click Fishing Trips, click Catch More Fish. That's what it's there for. Zoom in a little bit, Josh, so they can see. The people at home can see. Josh, show the peoples the Catch More. There it is. Catch More Fish page. Click on it. Let's show them what's on there. So basically, we have all these great resources on our website, but they're scattered out because our website's so awesome and there's so much cool stuff on it. Shout out to Josh and me. But we have all this cool stuff on the website, but it's all spread out through different pages. So the Catch More Fish page has consolidated all the coolness into one page where you can access the Bass Pro Shop seminar, our podcast, our live shows, our fishing reports, our fishing tips and tricks videos, all right there, all together, same page. It's bad to the bone. And we're going to throw a weather links thing on there too. That's one thing that I didn't think of, Josh, that I just thought of off the top of my head. But yeah, that Catch More Fish page is really, really cool. And we're developing that just to get people to click on it. So hopefully they might read. Might read. I don't know. That's the trick, is trying to get people to read. Trying to trick you into reading. And the all caps Catch More Fish with exclamation points might get someone to click on it. Who knows? We'll see. Google Analytics will tell the tale. Josh, let's give away a 10-hour trip, man. What are you waiting around for? He always switches over the page and types in a thing like, hey, you're over time, Dylan. It's time to give away a trip.
Yeah, I'm looking out for you guys.
Oh, he has a microphone now.
Yes, I do.
I forgot about that.
You're on WGOJ. That's short for What's Going On, Josh. Coming to a podcast near you.
Who won a 10-hour trip for two guests? Let's see. I regret ordering a microphone from Josh. The supporters after show is going to get lit. Brian Engel, you won a 10-hour all-day trip for two guests. Shout out to Brian Engel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to claim your free trip by texting that phone number in the bottom corner there, 727-393-1947. You got to text that phone number within about 5 minutes to claim that free trip. So don't forget to do it or you don't get it. All right, show that video or show that photo down there, Josh.
This one here?
Yeah, that one. So, no, don't click on the thing yet. I'll roll it. Excuse me, I want to tell the story behind it. So, gentleman showed up for a 39-hour fishing trip, and his wife was like, I didn't see the gentleman, saw his wife first, and his wife was like, wait till you see my husband's shirt. And in the back of my head, I'm like, oh man, what is this poor guy subjected to? Is it like Greg Roberts, who Jennifer Roberts made him wear matching outfits with her? And he was berated for 39 hours straight. Was it something like that? I was like, oh man, I hope it wasn't. But no, it wasn't that bad. It was awesome. Check this out. So the gentleman won, John Cassidy won a free 39-hour fishing trip on the live show. So I believe it was his mother-in-law. I don't recall exactly who John Cassidy told me made this t-shirt for him, but he was so excited about winning the free fishing trip. He won a 39-hour trip. Someone got a screen grab of us announcing his name, put it on a t-shirt, and he wore it to the loading of his last trip. It was pretty cool. And definitely really cool of you to share that t-shirt with us, John. It was very entertaining. But he ended up taking it off because it was a little too hot. He was a little too hot to be wearing multiple shirts. but at least he wasn't forced to wear matching outfits with his wife. What's up, Jennifer? Let's see, what other questions do we have? What day and time do you think is best in this week in regards for weather? So, Josh, let's show them the weather. Let's show the viewers the weather. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com and click fishing trips, scroll down to weather links, you're going to find the weather links page right on our website under fishing trips tab. You'll find that weather links link, and it's got a bunch of different options for you. The wind finder forecast is where I stay most of the time, but the buoys are a great way to check. Scroll down a little bit, Josh. So the buoys on the left side are a great way to kind of bottom truth the forecast. Like, for example, if they're calling in the 5 and 10 hour area, they're calling 4-foot seas, but that buoy's showing 6 foot, obviously the forecast is wrong. But if they're calling 6-foot seas and the buoy's only 3 foot, obviously the forecast is wrong, or it hasn't caught up yet. We've made that mistake before. But the buoys are definitely important because that gives you real-time information on a specific point. So really, really great information on the buoys, and really appreciate that ability to ground truth what we're seeing offshore on the forecast. So great way to use that weather data as you're planning to head out the door for a fishing trip, or you're planning a trip in the next day or two. But let's go ahead and click that 5 and 10 hour forecast on Windfinder, Josh. And right there you can see clearly around July 4th weekend is the best weather window. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, July 4th is the best weather window, which is unfortunate because it is a holiday weekend. It's going to be super busy. Super busy. So make sure you book early. This week, gonna be a little breezy, gonna be pretty rainy. Basically, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday, we are gonna have on and off midday showers. So a little tricky to get out there and really make something happen on the deep water stuff. But overall, it looks pretty kind of, how you say, spread out and not as concentrated. So we're going to watch this situation evolve, and we will definitely keep everybody in the loop as best we can with our morning updates and, of course, in the supporters page as well. So stay tuned. But to answer the question, best weather this week looks to be around July 4th weekend. Josh, what's our next question, brother? That one that just popped up. So this guy has been texting us pretty much nonstop about how I'm a thief and misleading because we don't allow cell phones on the boat, and we don't allow alcohol on the boat, and we're greedy and we're trying to get all the money out of them. Or it might be the state of Florida has a rule that where there's an alcohol license, you can't bring alcohol. So you're not allowed to bring a beer into the bar, bud. You call them and text them every day and call them greedy? No, it's at Florida state law, man. Don't have control over it. Boat has an alcohol license on it. You can't bring alcohol. Party boat trips, 5, 10, 12 hour, 39, 44 hours. Boat has an alcohol license. You can't bring alcohol. 12-hour extreme trip, the Flying Hub 2, boat doesn't have an alcohol license. So you can bring some beer on that trip, but you can't bring a ton of beer. It's not a drinking trip. It's a fishing trip. That's why we got an alcohol license, because we don't want someone like that who wants to bring a 24-pack on a 5-hour trip and get hammered. That's not what we're out there to do. It's dangerous. It's dangerous for people around them, and they end up getting dehydrated and end up having issues and cutting trips short. So whatever you want to call me, man, just stop texting me, because it's getting bothersome at this point. It's downright harassment. But whatever.
I do have a thing.
Shout out to you if you're watching.
What about the private charters?
Private charters, if you're on a boat that doesn't have an alcohol license, you can bring your own beer. So on the Hub, on the Flying Hub 2, you can bring your own beer. But if you privately charter the Florida or the Friendly, alcohol license doesn't go away because it's a private charter, unfortunately. So alcohol license is an alcohol license. the Department of Professional Business Regulations, I forget what it's called, and the ATF, they kind of have a problem when you get playing around with alcohol sales tax and not following their rules. We've already been slapped on the hand once by the ATF and the Florida, I think it's like FDBR. I don't know. I don't like the licensing part of it, but yeah, basically you can't bring alcohol where there's an alcohol license. Sorry, not my rule, not my choice. But if you're that upset about it, we don't want you fishing with us anyway, because it's not a drinking trip. It's a fishing trip with a little bit of drinking on the side. Alcohol, tobacco, ATF. I thought it was ATF. I don't know.
Alcohol, tobacco, firearms.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I'm losing it, man. Next question. Let's get back to fishing. But alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Second favorite.
Right behind the FBI?
Yeah. We got way off track there. I'm planning to do some surf fishing this week and next week for Snook. It'll be my first time throwing a cast net for bait. Do you have any pointers on throwing techniques? Now, that would be a great opportunity to go over to our buddy, Mike Anderson from, look at that timing, The Real Animals. Mike has a ton of tips and tricks videos on his website, which you can get to right from hubbardsmarina.com. Click fishing trips, click inshore fishing. We have links to the Real Animals website, just realanimals.com. Mike has plenty of videos up there, and I believe he has a cast netting tutorial on his website. It's definitely helpful to know some tips about cast netting. Me personally, I can cast net an average size net. I don't do it the proper way, but I'm very tall and I've got very long arms, so I can cheat, and it works because I got the distance. But throwing a fort net, that's when you got to use the right proper techniques. But if you're a tall, larger gentleman like myself, you can pretty much get away with whatever you want because you got the arm span to open the net yourself if you're using a 6-8 foot net. And you're not throwing a net from like a dock. If you're throwing it from the beach, you're throwing it from a seawall, it's real easy as long as it's not a super big net. Just basically put a little bit in your mouth and then reach down about maybe 5-6 feet, do a nice little twist and heave that sucker. And as long as you practice the timing of it, you should be able to open that net. As long as it's less than, like I said, about 8 foot. But there's a lot more that goes into it than that quick rundown that I just gave. But there's a ton of cast net tutorials out there. If you can't find it on the Real Animals website, check out Barracuda Tackle. Barracuda cast nets. They have plenty of great cast net tutorials as well. Me personally, I am not a cast net guy. We need thousands of baits, and we go through thousands of baits, and we do not have the ability to cast net all that bait. Ain't nobody got time for that. Except for our good buddy, Brian Harris. Buka, as he's affectionately known. He's the man with the plan who catches those thousands of baits for us. Let's see. Can I keep my phone at Hubbard's? Yes, yeah, we'll store your phone for you. Any 10-hour trip or longer, you're not allowed to bring any type of GPS device. Once you get offshore, you can't call, tweet, text, go on Facebook. You can't be on call for work. You can't contact your wife offshore. Once you get out of sight of shore, essentially, you lose your cell phone signal. However, your GPS signal never fails. Without a doubt, every morning, you can't bring your phone because your phone doesn't work offshore anyways, and then someone interrupts me. Well, then why can't I bring it? Well, your phone also has GPS. Well, if it doesn't work offshore, it won't have GPS. Our boat has GPS. How do you think we can navigate offshore? GPS does not fail, even in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. Bring your phone on your next cruise, and as you cross the Gulf of Mexico, as you're going over to Cancun to get hammered on the beach, your GPS still works. I tracked the cruise ship and dropped pins as the cruise ship made its way across the Gulf just to test some free apps to see how easy it was to steal fishing spots. Guess what? Carnival Cruise Line doesn't have any free fishing, or doesn't have any secret fishing spots now because I stole them all. Granted, the boat didn't stop. I fished a little bit, but we won't tell anybody about that. But it's definitely really easy to track a boat with a cell phone if you're being malicious. And unfortunately, we have had malicious people. It's definitely tricky. If you don't like the rules, text me. We'll send you plenty of contact information. There's plenty of boats in the area that'll take you fishing and allow you to bring your phone. But the biggest thing for me is when you take a photo offshore with your cell phone, it is a completely innocent thing. I want to take a photo and send it to my friend. Great. We love it. We'd love for you to do that. But when you take a photo with these newer generation phones, it tags the GPS coordinate. You send that photo, and you have just shared the photo and our fishing spot. That is our intellectual property, our proprietary information. That's the secret sauce, the secret ingredient. If you go into the Italian restaurant down the road that's award-winning, and you go into the kitchen and try to take out their sauce book with their secret sauce ingredients, you're probably going to get killed, shot. And in my opinion, it should be the same thing if you're caught stealing fishing spots. But I digress. I mean, that's what it is. It's stealing. And some people do it innocently because they don't realize it. They're just trying to take a photo and share it with their friends. I get it. Not everybody realizes it. But we do, and we're trying to help you out. No smartphones, no smart watches, no Apple Watches, no Fitbits, anything with the GPS. If you can go running and you get home and you download it to your phone and it shows you where you ran, that's a GPS. So no, you can't bring that on the boat because you can track through your Fitbit, through your Apple Watch. This is a Garmin watch. I can hit a button on this sucker and it will save my GPS coordinates. I have a track me function where it can drop a GPS pin every 5 to 10 minutes or even less if I set it. This Garmin watch can connect to the GPS on the boat through Bluetooth and actually control the autopilot of the vessel from a watch. So no, you're not allowed to bring them on the boat. Shout out to Garmin for this fancy, snazzy new watch. But yeah, that's why we don't allow them on the boat. GPS, not good. You want to go out with us because you want to catch fish, right? We want to catch you fish. And the way we do that is by protecting and preserving our historical fishing spots. One of the great things about our company is we're family owned and operated. We've been fishing local waters nearly 100 years, 4 generations. We have the best team on the water, in my opinion, especially working with guys like Mike Anderson from the Real Animals and all our other partners that we only partner with because they're the best of the best. They have a great reputation, great quality, and that's what makes us great. So we want to protect that reputation and that ability to catch fish by making sure that we protect and preserve that proprietary information that makes us great. That's why. Yes, you can bring a regular DSLR camera, but I would prefer you guys just bring us what you want, or bring yourselves, and you can use our cameras. We provide a camera on the boat. We have a digital camera on board. We have GoPros, and the captain and crew will take your photo for you, and we'll send it to you absolutely free. So plenty of ways to take photos. Josh, do we have time for another question? Yeah, we got time for one more. I'm answering questions here, so I'm not lecturing anybody. I appreciate the comments, but answering your questions, and I'm passionate about it, so sometimes I'll go on a diatribe. How does a new moon affect the fishing on the extreme trip? New moon is the opposite of a full moon, so it's dark at night. So generally, a new moon brings a little better daytime fishing. Full moon brings a little better nighttime fishing. Sometimes you just never know. It's fishing. But the general rule of thumb is you get good night fishing on a full moon. The daytime is a little bit slower on a full moon, whereas a night bite, the reverse is true. Better daytime bite, slower nighttime bite. But a lot of times leading up to those full moons or new moons, a lot of times the reverse will be true. And sometimes on the back side of it, the reverse will be true. So it's really hard to tell. The moon phase is just one of about 20 other variables that will affect your fishing. The barometer, whether it's rising, falling, static, the salinity level, the thermoclines, what the different currents are doing. Sometimes, like for example, if you're pelagic fishing, chlorophyll levels will affect temperature gradients, the different spawning seasons, what you're targeting, where you're targeting, your bait situation. There's so many different things that go into your ability to catch fish. The biggest thing you can remember is go fishing when you have time. And if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy. But if you're available, the weather's looking good, get out there on the water. 9 out of 10 times you can catch some fish, especially if you go with someone who is going to put you in the general area where those fish are, put you on top of them. And then if they're cooperative, you're going to catch plenty. But it boils down to just getting out there on the water, getting the experience under your belt. Don't sit at home and try to calculate this is the best day to go fishing, because there's always going to be something that throws off that plan, or you might not be available. If you don't have the flexibility to take off work when the weather's great, look for your best day to go, and don't try to get 10 friends together to go, because you're never going to be able to get everybody together on the right day with perfect weather. Just plan a trip. And then, hey guys, I'm going fishing on this day, on this trip. If you want to come, great. And then have them booked separately, so you have individual reservations. So if they don't show up, it's on them. It's not on you. And you get to go fishing more. And we have a regulars club where you can afford to go fishing more often at a lower rate. So plenty of great ways to get out there and take advantage of the good opportunities to get on the water. Shout out to Nick Nieves and the Skyway Fishing Club. Appreciate all the stars tonight, Nick, and I appreciate all your private charters with us this year, this red snapper season. With that, we gotta wrap this sucker up. We're getting on the backside of the show. Want to mention again, if you're part of the supporters group, don't forget about that private after show on the Hubbard's Marina supporters group. You got to join the supporter thing at the top of the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, and it will give you private access to that private group. And then the supporters after show starts about 5 minutes or so after the normal live show ends. And then don't forget, if you want, you can always download this live show as a podcast by Monday afternoonish on your favorite podcast channel. Or if you miss the show in the future, you can always listen to it later on the podcast networks. Don't forget our Saturday morning Real Animals radio show on 970 WFLA from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. You can watch or listen to that live through the iHeartMedia app or through iHeartMedia.com if you're not in the local market. Don't forget about our Fox 13 live news segments every Friday morning at 8:15 a.m. And if you want to submit your photos for Fox 13 news segment for our Sunday night live show, text us. That phone number in the corner there, 727-393-1947. Text us your local recent caught fish, and we'll add them to our Fox 13 report into our Sunday night live stream shows. Or come out with us. We'll take your photos, we'll send them to you for free, and we'll add them to the queue for our shows and for our fishing reports. Now, Josh, can you bring up that Word document for me? And then we'll give away our last trip. Oh, yep, that's what I wanted to announce. Next weekend is July 4th. 1 week from today is July 4th. So, July 4th, we're not having a live show. Next week, Sunday, no live show because it is Independence Day. I'm going to be trying to blow something up and celebrate America. July 4th. I'm excited to shoot some fireworks off. My son's 2 years old this year, and my wife is going to let me shoot mortars off with my son, which is some of my favorite childhood memories, blowing up really big mortars with my father, way too close to other people. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Very excited about that. And then also want to keep in mind and announce, guys, my wife is 8 months pregnant. We've got our baby girl. She's due August 1st. And now that Josh has a mic and some of these guys are pretty well trained in the live show, who knows, we might be able to sneak out a live show when my daughter Emma is born here somewhere around August 1st. But obviously, if she's If we go into, my wife goes into labor on Saturday night, Sunday morning, we're not going to have time to scramble. But if we can work it out, we're not going to miss a show, even due to babies. But that might happen, and I hope that's a valid excuse. But we haven't missed a show in a very long time. We will miss one next weekend because it's July 4th. It's America's birthday, for goodness sakes. And then, obviously, if my wife is in the hospital, I love you guys, but I'm not missing the birth of my daughter for a live show. We will see you July 11th is our next show. Not this coming Sunday, July 4th. July 11th will be our next live stream show. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Saw some negative comments about going on diatribes and stuff, but I was trying to answer your questions this week. So we switch it up. Every week's different. Sometimes we have some guests where we talk to the guests and go on tidbits and rants about different things and kind of converse with guests. Sometimes we have callers. Sometimes I focus on you and answer your questions. You just never know what you're going to get yourself into on the Hubbard's Marina live stream show. Hopefully we'll see you inside John's Pass soon for some fishing. And with that, Josh, let's see who won a 39-hour fishing trip for one guest. That is $399 value. Let's see who won, Josh. Remember, if you're the lucky winner, you got to text us within 5 minutes to claim you're watching live, to claim the trip and prove you were watching live. Hello from SOG. I don't know what SOG stands for. I know that's one of my favorite knife brands. They make some great tactical gear and gun bags. But Benchmade is my favorite. Don't make me pronounce things I can't pronounce. Suzanne, Daniel, Benet. I'm going to go with Benet. But it's probably Bennett. I don't know. Susan, you could text us your home address to claim that free trip, and you can even tell me how to pronounce your name so I can prove Josh wrong that I pronounced it right. That'd be cool. We'll see you guys we'll see you guys a week from next week. Sunday night, July 11th for the next show. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy. We'll see you Friday morning, 8:15 a.m. for Fox 13's live news segment. Every Saturday morning on News Radio 970 WFLA from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the Real Animals radio show, and every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. right here on Hubbard's Marina Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Jump over to the Hubbard's Marina Supporters After Show if you're in the supporters group, and we will see you again soon on the water. Tight lines.